This video is dedicated to James Humphreys. James, thank you. Feather the Redeemed versus Rafiq of the Many. And I like a Wrath of God against Rafiq, so I'm going to keep that. We need, is it double white or double? Yes, it's double white, so we've got white on the Felwar Stone. We should be able to get Feather out alright. We don't have protection for her though, unless we can get... Yeah, I don't like to play out Feather unless we've got protection mana held up. But we've got a spell to protect her at least. Just a land each to start things off. We will get down this Felwar Stone and accelerate our mana slightly. Getting into an Expedite, ready to give Feather haste. Oh, and a Stoneforge Mystic to start things off. It looks like they're going to get off to a better start than we are. Really need to start seeing lands at this point. I'll be half tempted. If we get into a land, a red land specifically, I'll be half tempted to go Expedite onto Feather. But we do not get into a red land, unfortunately. Do we still just go in for Feather and hope they don't have spot removal? It seems risky. Maybe we'll just try and bait our opponent into playing out their creatures and then we can go for a Wrath. Yeah, I think that's okay. And I think now that we've got Expedite in hand, I might actually use Bandage at the end of the turn. This doesn't draw cards, does it? No. I think we'll actually go for Bandage at the end of the turn just to try and put ourselves closer to a land that we actually need. Another tutor in Steel Shaper's Gift. And this time they go for Sword of Fire and Ice, which is obviously protection against our red creatures. And deciding not to swing in as well, we will go for the Bandage. And Electrostatic Field will deal 1 damage to each opponent. We draw a card off of Bandage, get ourselves into a Wasteland. Now, with all the tutors our opponent's got, do we need to take them off their colours? I think we might have to if we're not going to get into the coloured mana ourselves. Okay, there's a City of Brass. I think we still go for a Wasteland onto their green source. And then we'll go in for Feather and just hope that our opponent... Yeah, we'll just hope that he doesn't have any kind of spot removal. Okay, and in response, the Stoneforge Mystic is probably going to put Batterskull into play, so there we go. 2 mana Batterskull, and that is a 4/4 with Vigilance and Lifelink. So then I wonder if it's worth the Wrath of God at this point. Yeah, I think that's actually going to set our opponent back quite nicely. So let's go for that. We obviously lose the Electrostatic Field. I was thinking that our opponent was going to get out Rafiq much easier, but then we got into the Wasteland. So we just have to hope that we're not going to see green mana at this point. But watch them slam into some green mana right now. Well, there's a land. It's not green though. And they get into some fast mana as well. Getting into their sword, so luckily for us they don't seem to have a creature to actually equip it to. We are going to go in for another red source. And we will go in for our Feather. And I think I'm going to hold up Long Road Home. Yeah, maybe it's overly cautious, but I think I would rather do that than try and get in a bunch of haste damage on our opponent. Although, is it going to be all that difficult to recast Feather next turn? Yeah, we're actually going to be able to recast Feather and go for Expedite next turn regardless, aren't we? So let's try and get the spot removal out of their hand, actually. Let's really try and outrace them here. We're going to get the Expedite back regardless of if they have a Swords in response to this or not. Okay, a double Cleave is nice to get into. So we'll hit them for the first 3 points of commander damage. Get the Expedite back into hand. And now, hopefully, we're going to start really punishing our opponent. They get into the green mana they need. So now they can go for Rafiq and an equip with the Sword of Fire and Ice. Can we outrace them is the question. They go for exactly the play that we just suggested. So we're going to have to make use of Long Road Home. We definitely need to keep mana up for that. So let's go for double Cleave first of all. And that gives our commander double strike. We'll make sure that this hits Exile in response to the Long Road Home. Let's go for an Expedite as well, just to draw a card. That gets us into another land. And now we deal 6 points of commander damage for 9 in total onto our opponent. We'll be getting a plus counter onto our commander during Rafiq's turn as well, seemingly. I'm assuming the 2 shocks from the sword are going to go in at feather anyway. We'll wait for them to target before we go for the long road home. Grand Abolisher. That changes things a lot. At the beginning of the next end step, return it. I think we're going to have to go for this now then. Yeah, so let's go for the expedite now. Yeah, Grand Abolisher is going to be a real pain for us. We get into Otherworldly Journey. Exile a target creature at the beginning of the next end step. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a plus counter on it. So we could do that to their Rafiq, couldn't we? Yeah, let's just go for that now. We won't get it back, but it is a tempo loss for them. It also means that they've got to spend mana re-equipping their sword next turn as well, which they might not want to do. I don't think it'll harm them too much, but still. They also have to change the zones on that, so did it actually go into exile? Yes, our opponent correctly put their commander in the exile zone instead of it going into the command zone. So we buy ourselves a bit more time there. Unfortunately, don't have the plus counter. We could have dealt 8 damage to our opponent with double strike. I don't think that's relevant though. We just need 2 more double strike combats. Deciding to equip the Batterskull onto the Grand Abolisher. We're not really worried about any life gain from that. I am worried about the massive life loss that we can take though. So there's really no point. And another land for us, I don't like that. Yeah, there's no point in us holding on to anything at this point. We will go for Expedite and try and draw into something incredible. Eerie Interlude is exile any number of target creatures, return them to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Yeah, so it's long road home we want to rely on really. We'll go for the double cleave onto our commander as well. And then at our end step, yeah, we'll go for the long road home to get a plus counter on that and just hope that our opponent can't beat us next turn, which I have a feeling they might be able to. If they go 4 and 8 and 10, then that's 20 commander damage. Oh, and then it swings in alone. Yeah, so they can beat us with commander damage next turn. Wow. So we're forced to block at this point, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah, that's a shame. We're just a turn behind, unfortunately. Just shows the power of Rafiq. We'd be in a much more commanding position if it wasn't for the Grand Abolisher as well. We can't use this cantrip every single turn, which would help us get into something really useful. But as it stands now, I don't think we can do anything. Does this switch off abilities? It's just of artifact creatures and enchantments, so we can still crack the Marsh Flats. And our opponent is equipping up as we thought they would, so they'll get an 11-11 double striking Rafiq. Oh, and of course, thanks to this, we can't... Oh yeah, we're dead, aren't we? Forgot all about the protection from red, so we can't block them. We can't cast anything during their turn. So there we go. Don't feel too bad about that, because Rafiq's a very, very powerful commander. It did take them 2 tutors and some fast mana to do this, so yeah, I don't feel too bad about losing this one. But there you go, for any Rafiq fans out there. We got hammered there. If we could attack last turn and then survive until this turn coming up, then we could have taken them out there, so it was actually quite a close one. And they obviously go for the shocks on us, but take us down to 22 points of commander damage. We were drawing into Chromatic Lantern, and yeah, just a bunch more lands on top. The path to exile was way too far away. Reckless Rage would have been useful before the sword came down. Anyway, let's see if we can get a game without a bunch of tutors and fast mana. Well, speaking of getting into a bunch of fast mana, I just played against this player's Joyra deck and they just vomited all the fast mana the game has onto the board. So we'll see if we have any more luck against their Jodah Archmage Eternal list. Yeah, it looks as though we're just trying our luck with a turn 3 feather. And we'll see what happens from there. Nothing but a few lands to start off with. We'll see if our opponent's got a turn 2 play for us. Cascading Cataracts gets them into the 5 colours they need. if they've got a bunch of mana to pour into that. They do have a turn 2 play in the Boros Signet. We need, we can drop any land there, we'll just drop the plains. And then we'll see if our opponent's got spot removal for us. Hopefully not, because from next turn onwards we can protect it if needs be. And that's the risky run. And of course they've got the fast mana again. Swords to Plowshares into Grim Monolith, that sets us back very nicely. We would have been waiting until turn 5 to get our feather down anyway, but at least we would have been able to hold up shelter, so yeah, we really want 1 mana protection spells really. We can destroy a creature with toughness 4 or greater, and of course our opponent is 1 point away from that being relevant. Well, our opponent didn't play any spell there. They've got 3 and 6 mana held up, including 2 colours, or 3 colours, including Boros. We get into yet another land. Let's pull 1 out of the deck with the fetch. And then we're just going for our commander again, I think. Something tells me our opponent has yet more answers for us. Well, they didn't do anything during our turn anyway. But they've got a full grip of 7. Let's see if they manage to drop any lands or any more rocks this turn. They can make 5 colours with their Cascading Cataracts if they need to. And they could get into their commander with the mana that they've got at the moment. Maybe they're just trying to avoid tapping the Grim Monolith, but looks like they're deciding to go for it. They lost a turn not going for that. Alright, here we go again with the tutors. A demonic tutor to start things off. They've converted all the mana they tapped with the Cascading Cataracts. And now, going in for Oko, Thief of Crowns, we can... well, we can disenchant on that Grim Monolith for a start. Maybe disenchant on the Boros Signet, actually. Yeah, let's go for that, because that's less coloured mana for them. And then we need to flicker our creature, really. Some of our protection stuff does have a flicker effect tied onto it. Anyway, let's go in at Oko and try and deal with that over the next few turns. Creating a food token to keep their Oko around for 1 turn longer. And here's hoping that we don't just draw into another land. We haven't had the best of luck with Feather this time round. There you go, another land for us. Let's pull another plains out of the deck. And then I think I'm just going to go for a shelter on our commander. We're not going to get the shelter back, but we'll draw a card here. And we'll just give protection from, I don't know, blue, because they've only got blue mana held up. Okay, open the armory. That lets us do something. And I say here we go in for a Sword of Feast and Famine. Yeah, let's play the sword. And then if we manage to flicker our feather again, we can give it protection from green, so Oko can't go after it. And then we don't necessarily need to worry about Oko unless they've got spot removal for the sword. Oh, but of course, totally forgot that Oko can turn artifacts into elks as well, not just creatures. Yeah, haven't used Oko all that much, but at least we can take out Oko this turn. We just get into, wouldn't you guess, another land. So let's take out the Oko and we'll start swinging in at our opponent. And then I might just go for a God's Will in at the end of the turn because we need to scry lands to the bottom apparently. Our opponent decides to gain 3 life off of the food token, they might as well. I don't think they're going to make use of that during any other point of the game now that Oko's gone down. And as much decent luck as our opponent had with a Swords to Plowshares, they had a rock and a demonic tutor. A means of getting into their 5 colours, some fast mana. They haven't had all that much luck with the lands. It might be that they've got a low land count if they're a more competitive build. They decided to discard Emrakul, by the way. Let's go for a Scry on God's Willing. And a Skull Clamp. I don't really care about Skull Clamp. I want to get into some kind of cantrip spell or cantrip / flicker spell. Or a Stoneforge Mystic, I'll take that. So we go in for some tutors of our own. This game seems to be playing out for us a little bit like the last one did for our opponent. Can we go Sunforger? How much is it to equip? I never use Sunforger. That'll be 6 to play and equip. But now's as good a time as any, I think. So let's go for Sunforger. and we'll give our opponent a chance to deal with Sunforger whilst we don't have a means of protecting it. And this is going to be 10 damage to our opponent at the very least, so 3 attacks like this, whilst they're not able to do anything, ought to be able to win us the game. Now let's see if by turn 9 they can play a land, discarding Ugin as well, by the way. Yeah, they decided to scoop it there. We were going to draw into another tutor, alright, so my opponent went for a bunch of tutors for equipments last game, and this game it's us that's doing it. I think that would have been a Champion's Helm, and then Sunforger would have gone for one of the cantrip flicker effects so that we can actually get our commander into play again and start being able to take advantage of said cantrips. Yeah, once the Sunforger's in play and our opponent seemingly couldn't do anything about it, yeah, we're really off to the races there. We get our commander back as well as all of our cantrips. So a couple of funny games there. That was a bit of a weird victory for us, and the first one was, yeah, a hell of a victory for our opponent. So let me know if you all enjoyed these videos. Let me know if you want to see more Feather, and be sure to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe if you did, and you can stay up to date with all the latest content from the channel that way. I do pay attention to the likes and the views, so if you do want to see more Feather gameplay, then be sure to hit the thumbs up button and let me know that you want to see more gameplay from her. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.